What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Here to Life podcast. I'm your host, Nick Barrotta, and today we have a special guest, good friend of mine, Mr. Zac Clark. I appreciate you sitting down, having us.
Nick Barrotta, the man.
That's it.
This guy is just, I'm happy to be here.
Hey, man. Listen, this has been a long time coming. It's actually almost our 1-year anniversary. We first met last February, right? Under better circumstances.
Yeah, the Eagles were in the Super Bowl.
There you go.
I thought we were on our way to a parade, but you brought me a Drake concert in a hangar, so I'm forever in debt to you.
Hey,
bro.
we had a good time. We had a good time, man. That was well worth it. That made the weekend worth it. Well, listen, you were in a better position then than you are this year. The Eagles aren't looking too good, man. What's going on with your team?
Done. They're making changes. Look, man, I think the truth about this season was they probably won some games early on that they shouldn't have, and then it all kind of came crashing down. But I think they'll be back. I think Jalen's going to find his way as a leader as he matures in the league. And they're doing some stuff with the coordinators now. So
Yeah.
What are you Giants?
I'm a Giants guy, man. But listen, I'll be honest with you. I went to a couple of Jets games this year. And I don't know, man. The blood, not that they're much better, but some of those guys, man, I see a bright future there. And I'm like, got the blood flowing a little bit. I felt myself, rocking some more green this year, which was interesting.
Yeah, Brees, right? And if Rodgers comes back.
Yeah, I mean, they're okay. We'll see. They have a lot of potential. We'll say that.
Yeah.
But what the Eagles started off like 10-1.
10-1.
And then just
11-6. Lost to the Bucks. Baker, 32-9. But I was, you know what, man?
But who's paying attention?
As we get into it, right? Like, people want to say what they want to say about Baker Mayfield, but I love that. Like, I love a dog. I love a comeback story, and like, I love the way that he carries himself.
For sure. No, it was fun watching him shine, and he was balling out, man. It was very, very cool to see him do his thing.
I'm Lions now, though. Lions.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So we got.
I'm
his
always
pick.
the underdog. Like, I'm always.
So it's. I'm glad you said that because we've been getting some guest pick. So Chris Hogan a couple episodes ago, he wants to see what's going on with McCaffrey, his boy, and he wants the Niners to go all the way. But we got Detroit here with Mr. Zac Clark.
I can't be Niners, Ravens, Chiefs. I got to go Lions, bro.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. Those boys are balling too, man. But listen, I mean, on the other side, the Sixers they're doing okay. You just
Embiid was 70 the other night against
Yeah.
the Spurs. I was there for that one. That was electric.
Yep.
That's people always ask me what Philly championship do you want the most right now, and it's Sixers for
There you
me.
go.
Like,
Okay.
if I could pick one, it's Sixers because that city when they're hooping, when the Sixers are balling, there's nothing better.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Long season, a lot of hoops left.
Yep. We had Danny Green on here as well. And listen, the Sixers. It's interesting because I do love that team, and they have a lot of talent. But Tobias Harris, man, he crushed my high school championship dreams. So sometimes it's hard to really back those guys the way I want to because they're still a little.
Long Island. You were Long Island.
Long Island, man. And you know what? I want to say I'm over it, but I'm not over it, man.
In states, or when was this?
No, this was county championship, and we lost by 2 points. And
What did he put up on you?
man, he was a sophomore. I was a senior, but he was big body, and he was putting up numbers. I mean, we held him, I think, below average that game, but he did some damage. That's for sure.
He's playing well this year, man. They got something going. They brought in Pat Bev. They got rid of Harden. Like the Tyrese Maxey's probably an all-star. So
Yeah.
they got something going over there.
Well, you could see there's a good dynamic over there right now.
Yep.
And it's obvious that they're getting along. They have some good chemistry. So I feel like that translates.
Yeah, I might be old school, but like when you asked about the Eagles, like what happened last year, what was the difference this year, last year, like they just had it last year. The Eagles just had that thing that teams get, and it's just like that unshakable confidence in each other. And they lost that at some point this year. But I think the Sixers are kind of showing signs of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, one more thing about the Eagles, your boy Jason Kelsey, man. I saw you post about him. That's one of your guys, huh? How you feeling about the retirement?
I don't know that it's 100% confirmed yet, but I think he will go down as a top 5 Eagle for me all time, just because he had a good time doing it, man. Like, you look at that guy and you say, like, I say to myself, forget what he does on the field. Like, he's living his life the way that he wants to, and I just respect that.
Yeah.
You know,
you just want to like bear hug that
Yeah.
guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw he just recently mentioned his Mount Rushmore of Philadelphia and in the sports world. I don't know if you saw that. I'm curious as a Philly fan and a guy who's kind of been on the ups and downs and that crazy roller coaster in the Philadelphia sports world. Who's your Mount Rushmore of Philly?
I mean, I was an Utley guy,
Okay.
a Dawkins guy,
He had Dawkins on there.
Iverson, obviously. And then if I'm looking at new age, like I gotta look at Harper and Embiid, man. They're it right now. I think Jalen's probably close, but like between Harper, I would probably fill that 4th spot if we're doing 4. Dawkins, Iverson, Utley, just because I loved the way that Utley played. And then that last spot is someone out of Embiid, Harper, and Jalen.
So we'll circle back. They're still earning the spot, but
Yeah.
a lot of talent through the city of Philadelphia. I was just down there, man. Like I said, and a lot of love. I went and visited that Rocky statue too. They moved it down to the bottom of the stairs. I thought that was on top of it.
Yeah, to the bottom. Yeah, you got to go to the bottom, then you got to run up the steps.
You run through the whole thing. All right. Well, enough about sports for now. Look, I know you as a Philly fan, I guess, but a lot of people know you from The Bachelor.
Yep.
So we got to dive into that a little bit.
Okay.
And what your experience was like. Looking back now, obviously, that's what was that 2020?
2020, yeah.
2020. Looking back now, what was your biggest takeaway personally from being on that show? Because I hear different things.
No, that like for real.
Yeah.
That I can be proud of who I am, and when I sat there and I went through this experience, and I love people, and I'm meeting new people, and I'm dating, and I'm doing this thing, and I don't know what I'm actually like. There's cameras and lights and everything around. But I promised myself before I went that I was just going to be me. I was going to be Zac. And I stepped off and, you kind of watch the season back or whatever, and I haven't watched really since I've been on. But what I saw and what my friends saw and the people that really knew me when they watched the show is like, yeah, that's Zac. That's him. Like, You're not trying to be anything that you're not. And I had a really positive experience from people that don't know me coming off of it. So that was a big takeaway. And then the other big takeaway, man, is that, my story has power.
Yeah.
And when I can lean into that shit and be honest and tell that story, someone out there is going to identify with the way that I've felt in the past and hopefully make that connection. And a lot of people's lives have changed, I know for a fact, just because I was able to step into that world and share my story. On a less serious note, like my takeaways, I think it was an awesome opportunity. I think the people that run that show do the absolute best they can. They've obviously built something that's been around. I read something, I think it's like their 48th or 49th season. Like
Crazy.
People can say what they want to say, but that's greatness.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's television greatness. So like, who am I to say, whatever? And in terms of like, the edit or how they project you or whatever, like I had a positive experience with that. Like, right? Like I had a very positive experience where I feel like it was amazing. I sat in chairs like this for probably 100 hours out there. Crazy. And I watched it back, and they would pull these like 30-second, 20-second clips, and over the course of a season, I was like, they got it all. Like there's some talented people working on that shit.
They know what they're doing over there. 48, 49 seasons?
I think so, bro. I think I read,
that's crazy.
I'm out of the mix a little bit.
And how many couples have stayed together from that show? 40 and 49, man.
One of the people that I got to know there said this to me. He's like, look, man, the proof is in what you see. Like, do a lot of the couples stay together when they leave the main show? Maybe not necessarily, but what he said was that it actually produces a lot of beautiful love stories just in that kind of community.
100%.
And I think the thing that's wild for me is like when I think about getting sober, right, like that's a huge part of my story. And one of the biggest things that helped me get sober was being able to talk to someone else who has had mental health struggles or has had substance abuse struggles and just connect with them.
Right.
And so when you come out of this fucking crazy experience and you start to meet some of the other people that have had that experience, it's like you share that common bond that very few people have. So I think naturally that's why a lot of the kind of like casts or talent or however you want to define, I'm just a dude from Philly, but like, you know, that's why a lot of them end up being friendly or connecting because
sense of community.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So you get it.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked a little bit off camera, just, you know, man, just how proud I am of you, honestly, you know, this past year, after we met, watching you use your voice, right, and share that story, your story, very powerful, like we said, and not easy, I feel like, for you to do or anybody to do for that matter. But, you know, I really just want to go on record and say, you know, how much credit I give you, you know, and all, for doing so many positive things with your negative experiences, really. It's amazing. And like I said, I'm just proud of you, man. And I really do mean that.
Dude, I got to just say, like, the other thing we said off camera, which is like, so my good friend is this guy, Nate Checketts. He's the CEO of Heroin. They make the menswear and they're coming out. Yep. And so when we first started connecting, he said this thing, which is like light attracts light, right? Light attracts light. Yeah. And like, I genuinely believe that you're one of these people that is rooting for other people.
Nah, man.
And when you are at the top or you are elevated on this planet, there is no competition. Like, you just want to work with people that want to lift you up. Mm-hmm. And so you saying that to me, like, I can say that right back to you in all sincerity, because I don't feel like there's an angle. I feel like it's really just like, how do we help each other? How do we help each other enhance our voices or do what we want to do in this world? And so it's cool to hear you say that, but I want to echo it back to you because I genuinely believe that. And I saw it. I saw it happen firsthand last year in Arizona. This dude knew everybody, and everyone was like, Nicky B's a good guy. So like, it's not.
I was gonna say it's not just because I was like the party plug.
Yeah, no.
No, we had a good time, man. That's for sure. I do appreciate you saying that though, man. It means a lot. So let's take it back to the early parts of your story. Mm-hmm. When was the first time you realized that you had an addiction? I don't want to say, I was going to say a problem. I don't want to say that. I want to, an addiction. And when did you know you were in a dark place?
So it's funny, bro. I've been thinking about this a lot because, like, I've done a good job of staying in the work, staying in therapy, like, I got a business coach, I got a spiritual coach, I got a therapist. Like, I commit 3 to 5 hours a week to doing the work and really trying to figure out who I am at 40 years young. And it kind of came to me the last couple weeks. Like, I used to be, and I'm still inside, very competitive. And I think the first thing I was addicted to was winning.
Wow. Like,
that shit. Like, I remember in Little League, bro, like, winning a game, and I would be high as shit off that. Like, and I just wanted more of, like, that feeling, right? Yeah. Like, that feeling of getting the game-winning hit or pitching the no-hitter or, like, hitting the bucket late. Like, that was, I think, my first feeling. Because winning, like, it does the same thing to the brain that, I hit a weed or, like, it's that dopamine, right? Like, when I win, that spike goes off in my mind. So that's, like, I think the first, like, when I really think about it, and that's been something that's been coming up more and more lately in some of my self-discovery. But
interesting.
When I think about, like, I knew, so I grew up in this, like, waspy town in South Jersey, Haddonfield, and we would, like, go to the country club, like the 8th hole of the country club when, like, the parents were at the country club drinking, like, right. We'd be drinking, partying on the putting green or whatever. And I knew then, man, that I had a different relationship with the booze than the other kids that were standing around me. Like, there was no off switch. But I never really took note of it until like college. I really started to kind of like black out a couple nights a week. And then it was like, all right, there might be something here, but there was never any consequences. There was never anything slowing me down. And like, I I played college baseball and I had a girl and my grades were all right. So like mom and dad couldn't really sit me down and say like, bro, you need to look at this.
Right. Right. Interesting. So college, I guess, when you're kind of in the middle of it all, right? Did anybody else that was with you kind of the day to day or partying with you notice that? I mean, obviously if mom and dad weren't around or seeing there was, any sort of conversation that needed to be had, were there any friends or any family members or anybody that was close to you that said, whoa, maybe this is heading into a weird, different direction?
I think in college it was just pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first time I did coke. That's when you start messing with like Adderall and stimulants. You want to stay up all night and like, I was always altered in some way, shape, or form, 24 hours a day.
Right.
Whether it was waking up with a bong hit or going out to the local bar for $2 Tuesdays,
right.
or buying the bag of blow on a Friday night to try and stay up all night. Like, but everyone was kind of like, what I've realized, man, is everyone's thinking about themselves, especially in college, right? Like like you're just thinking about yourself. So there wasn't a lot of attention on it. I mean, when it really came to light was when I got a brain tumor.
Right. Yep.
And that was the shit that really isolated me. Like it was a blessing. And that's when I think people coming out of that probably realized there was something a little off.
Yeah. I've seen you, post about, the tumor and the surgery and what that whole experience was like for you. You also say that's kind of when things turned another corner, right? And you became addicted to the pain meds that led to the opiates or what, that obviously traumatic experience, was that the start of a whole new chapter?
Yeah, I mean, up until that point, so I'm like 23, 24 years old when that happens. I mean, friends have had their wisdom teeth pulled and I've taken one of their Percocets or like whatever it is. Like I've had experiences with painkillers prior to that. But, for me, I go into University of Penn Hospital. I get this thing cut out the back of my head. I'm lying there. I'm in the hospital for like whatever it is, 15, 18 days. I'm learning to like walk, talk, all that stuff all over again because it was on a part of my brain that like I need, like I'm in the off, like playing memory, like doing memory, trying to remember where the sandwich is, or like whatever it was. And I felt great. I felt great. I felt no pain because of what they were putting in my arm. I was high.
Right.
I was high. And a lot of what I do today, like I love to help people that are in a jackpot. So if someone's, struggling, I love that. But I also really believe in the power of like education and prevention. And even if a doctor would have come in at some point and said like, yo, we're going to put you on this medication. It's really powerful. It's addictive. We're going to like monitor this really closely. And you need to kind of be aware of this because the pain you're going to be in is so extreme. There's nothing else that's really going to touch it. But they didn't. So I just thought I was like, having this good old time in the hospital, like high on drugs. Like I didn't know I was high.
Right.
And so getting out of there and then being sent home with a script of morphine and Oxycontin and whatever else it is. And then I go back to my parents' house where there's like another month of kind of recuperating and my buddies are coming over to watch movies and I'm like the candy store and we're all sitting there like watching movies, getting high. And I'm like, that's when it starts to hit me like, yo, this shit's like nice. And I never put it down.
Yeah.
I never stopped after that surgery. Like there wasn't a day that went by from that surgery until, the last shot of heroin I put in my arm that I didn't get high.
Right.
I guess I went to rehab one time in there, but you get it.
Man, crazy. That's deep.
And so I think like the moral of that story is I think doctors are getting better today. I think like guys like me like screaming and yelling about this shit is going to hopefully make some progress and some change in the world. But if you knew that, so like 48 million people in this country suffer from a substance use disorder. 10% of those people will get treatment. So 90% of those people will never get the help they need. 100,000, over 100,000 people died last year to overdose. Over 150,000 people died to alcohol-related deaths, whether it's DUI, liver failure, whatever. So like you're talking about 250,000 people a year just on opiates and booze alone.
Crazy, man.
It's nuts. It's nuts. So
was as the drug use kind of continued to get worse and worse, and you saw that sort of trajectory, if you will. Were you ever aware of what was happening in that moment? Like, okay, this is the first time I'm going to try heroin, and like, did you have to prepare for that? What was that like when you turned another corner and tried heroin for the first time?
I can tell you the first time I tried heroin, I remember it like it was yesterday, bro. I went to. This is so nuts. This story is fucking great. So the end of my first run, like my first run before I go to rehab for the first time, I'm like 10 grand in the hole to a bookie. I owe my drug dealer money, like whatever it is.
Them damn Eagles, man.
Yeah, bro. Philly sports. It was not good. This was 2000. This was 9, so like 10. So the Phillies were probably like, whatever. I was losing for sure. And I kind of talked my dad into paying some of that shit off, went home. Mom came home. She's like, we know what's up. Sent me to rehab for the first time. I go to rehab. I'm married at the time. And I signed this contract in rehab. It says basically like if I get high again, she's going to leave me. No. And I was like 2 week, like whatever, out of treatment. I had kind of managed to stay sober, and I woke up one morning, and they talk about this, like with alcoholism and substance use disorder, it's like this blank spot that we have. And like, if you would have told me the night before that I was going to drink the next day, I would have said you were crazy. But I woke up and it was just like the decision was made. And I drove to a liquor store and bought a flask of like this dirty vodka, and I drank it. And I drove into Camden where I'd copped drugs there back in high school. Like the dirty ass weed with the stems and the seeds in it. Like this shit was gnarly. But I remembered how to get to the set all the way back from high school. So it was like third dumpster on the right, So I drive my car in. Sure enough, some dealer comes out. I'm like, what do you got? He had heroin. I bought it for the first time. I put in my car. I drive home. My wife doesn't know that I'm drunk, so I kind of like everything chills out that night. And then she goes to bed. I put a line out on the table. She comes down. She's like, what are you doing? I start crying. I'm like, I'm about to get high. Still haven't done heroin.
Right.
She kicks me out. That's the last night I'm ever with her. And then the next day, like I had some more shit in my car. It's the first time that I try heroin. So that's basically like end of 2010, early 2011. And I ended up getting sober in August of 2011. So for the next 8 months, it was off to the races.
Right.
And then like the next story is like, all right, how do you smoke crack for the first time? And that's like straight up. I was running around with these drug dealers, and they took me to a crack house. And like, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And then that just really, that grabbed the hold of me. Like you talk to anyone that smoked crack, like that is the most addictive thing that I've ever experienced.
Wow. Crazy. I appreciate.
But it's all a blessing now, bro.
For sure, for sure. And I'm curious. I'm like, man, like I'm sure it was just a crazy roller coaster of a ride those few months, right? But like, did you ever come out of that high or kind of break out of that for a second and realize like, what the fuck was happening? Or was you so deep into it where like you don't even have that moment of clarity?
The moment of clarity came when I got sober.
Yeah.
I just never no.
Because people who've never experimented, right, or gone down those paths, man, it's easy for some people that don't understand, right, to say like, man, why don't you wake up on that Sunday and just realize, fuck, man, like I'm not doing that again because that was crazy. People just are quick to obviously think it's that simple.
Well, that mentality keeps a lot of people sick.
Right.
Like my old man will tell you, my old man like grew up on a farm and built a life for me and my family, and like he would have told you like, son, just stop.
Right.
Like you're killing your mother. You're killing me. Just
right.
like stop.
Right.
Willpower. Right. And like this is a sickness, man.
Right.
Like, this is a sickness. And he learned that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he did his work and he got educated. I'm really proud of him. I'm proud of my whole family because they hung in there with me, but they changed the way that they viewed this thing, and they learned that I was just like, I was really, truly ill. But no, there was not a moment of clarity where it was like, I need to stop. Like, my every waking thought, I mean, bro, I remember I went into my dad's. So my dad went to University of Miami. I don't know if I've told this story. He went to University of Miami. You know, every dad's got a top drawer, right? Like, you know, the top drawer, bro. It's like, you know, that's where they keep a couple bucks and probably some like what. And so like I went in the top drawer and I found his class ring, his University of Miami class ring from like 1962 or whatever it was. And shit was straight gold.
Yeah.
Like back then, the rings they got were nice.
Nice.
I went straight to the pawn shop and like without a thought sold it. Got whatever $1,000 off. Like every waking moment, every action was
how am I getting the next fix?
Yeah,
crazy, man. Well, like you said, a blessing, right? Well, looking back, I
love making mistakes.
It's right. Well, I always say, man, there's no mistakes, there's no failure. It's all lessons and blessings, man.
Lessons and blessings. I like that.
Let's talk about that day at the bank.
Yeah,
because you've been very vocal about sort of that being your rock bottom. Can we talk about that story a little bit when you went to the bank and I guess and
tried to pull life story,
try and pull a fast life. That's well. Hey, listen, here's to life, man. We talk about the ups and the downs.
More life.
It.
I think this world today is there's so much hate.
Mm-hmm.
And I've experienced some of it. You've probably experienced some of it. Just random people having an opinion about who you are, the way you look, or the way that you do things. And, like, we're all just doing the best we can.
Right.
Right? And so, for me, here I am, late August 2011. I look like shit. My family's looking all over the place for me. I'm in Camden, New Jersey, getting high. Need my next fix, so I break into my dad's office. I steal one of his checks. And I've told this story a lot of times, man. I go down to the bank in Camden. I have 2 drug dealers with me. They're waiting outside the door, and I go in. I'll be right out. And I go up to this bank teller. This lady, kind as can be, takes the check, asks for ID, and kind of goes and does her thing behind the counter. And her name was Rhonda Jackson. And Rhonda saved my life because she was just a nice person. She didn't judge me. She didn't make assumptions about how I was living my life, even though she could have. And she had a couple choices in that moment. She could have called the cops. She could have called her manager and, you know, got me in trouble. Or she could have did what she did, which is she called my dad.
Want to help.
She called my dad.
Yeah.
She's not a psychiatrist. She's not a therapist. She's not a doctor. She's not a social worker. She's nothing. She's a nice, kind human being doing the right thing. And she saved my life because my dad got down there 15 minutes later. I thought I was getting the money. And really, I hit the jackpot is kind of like what I say because he put his arm on my arm and I was in treatment the next day out in PA. And I'll never be able to forgive Rhonda Jackson for that moment. And it's like, I've been rolling this thing out a little bit. It's just like be a Rhonda, you know, like you hear all this stuff about Karens or whatever, and I don't want to name shame or any of that. But like, just be nice, man.
Yeah.
You never know what someone's going through.
Right. Yeah, I always say that, man. You know, whether it's the girl working at Starbucks or somebody at the gas station, you don't know what anyone's dealing with that day or what they just overcame or the struggles they're dealing with. I'm just kindness is everything, man. It goes a long way, and it's easy to be. Right? When you think about it, doesn't take much to be kind. So, shout out Rhonda, man. Are you still?
Yeah, we link up.
Yeah.
I see her about like once a year. She came to one of my talks late last year down in South Jersey. She still lives down there. But no, we text, we stay in touch. Like I try to include her in certain things when I can, and
well, she's a big part of your story, man.
Yeah, I'd love to, I don't know, take care of her in a bigger way, but who knows?
She's still in Jersey?
She's not. She's working at the bank, but she's got like a remote job, I think now. Like her role has changed. Like, I think there's some wild story where it's like her like second to last week being a teller, and then she moved. Like so, like
oh wow,
the whole thing was very
the universe was working
inspired.
for you.
Yeah.
So wait, just to back up a little bit, she didn't take the check and confront you about it. She went in the back and called you. Like, you thought you were still getting the money by the time your dad showed up.
She played it perfectly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
What a blessing. Well, let's fast forward a little bit. 12 years sober?
12 years. I 12 in August, so I'm probably 12 and a half.
12 and a half. So congratulations, man. I mean,
yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's like, and I've learned a lot. I don't try to shove this down anyone's throat.
Yeah.
Like, because I know that doesn't work. I just want people to know that, like, whether it's a dry January, everything from, like, you know, if it's dry January to you can't stop shooting heroin.
Yeah.
Like, change is possible.
Right.
Change is possible. And if I could do it, literally, I believe anyone could do it.
Man. How hard? I mean, you're a social guy, right? You're out a bunch. You're at the events. You run around. I mean, you and I were in Arizona together at Super Bowl, and I apologize because I didn't even really know your story until then. And I think I was like, let's get a drink. You know, how hard is it to, like, stay true to you and not give in those environments, in those situations? I mean, we're at Drake parties and Super Bowl events, and, you know.
I love that question.
And I said, I remember Barstool Fran, our girl, like, we were at the bar and I was like, what are you drinking? You know? And you just looked at me and you were like, no, I'm good. Okay, that's fine. Later on, I discovered, you know, and I realized, you know, your journey and everything that you're dealing with, and, you know, you being sober. So how do you deal with that? Like, being out and about and running around and being tempted, really, I guess, in some ways.
Well, the temptation's gone.
Okay.
The temptation's gone. I love that question because one of the big things that I'm pretty passionate about is there's this idea around people that choose to get sober or change, you know, that their life is over, right? That you're going to go sit in a church basement and go to these meetings and be in therapy and be around a bunch of boring ass people for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And if you need any data point, just look at the first 27 years of my life and then look at the last 12 years of my life and what I've been able to accomplish. You know, like, I don't want to be self-promoting or whatever, but, like, you know, own a business, started a nonprofit, went on television, you know, been in relationships, had breakups, like, all the things in life that I've gotten to experience in these last 12 and a half years sober.
The best days of your life, really.
Best days of my life.
Right.
And so, like, that weekend's a perfect example. Yeah. Drake and the Sports Illustrated part, like, whatever we did that weekend, Rolling Stone, going to the game, Eagles lose, Eagles win, whatever it is, it's like I don't need to drink, nor do I want to, but I want people to see me living that way so that they know if they choose to get sober, if they choose to change, that they can still go out and do the things that they want to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's something I'm really passionate about, and I've had a lot of people say to me, it's not about what you said, it's what I saw you do.
Right.
And so, like, you know, I had a 40th birthday party this past weekend. I'm, like, jumping up and down, dancing. Like, I'm like, because I'm free. I'm free from all the bullshit. Like, I actually kind of like who I am, and I actually kind of trust that, like, the people that love me are gonna love me, and the people, you know, it's like it's a very comforting feeling,
yeah,
I'll say. But there are people out there that, 1, 2, 3 years into their journey, they might not want to be at a bar, they might not want to be at a concert.
It's hard to be.
But you certainly don't need to apologize. No one needs to apologize. I mean, what I would say to people that are, you know, navigating shit with someone who's newly sober is just ask them, like, hey man, like, what's gonna make you feel comfortable about this, or how can I be helpful? Mm-hmm. And they're gonna say one or two things, like, don't drink around me, and then you have a choice, or they're gonna say, bro, have one for me, like, you know. I know I can't.
Yeah.
And the truth is, like, I kind of enjoy the secondhand smoke being around people partying, you know.
I'm sure you get an eyeful being at all these events sober. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No, that's real, man. That's real. And you mentioned you've accomplished great things, my man. Sober, right? But I guess we got to dive into Release Recovery and this nonprofit. And 2017, I think.
So we started the for-profit. So the for-profit is Release Recovery, and we have properties here in New York City and up in Westchester, kind of like high-end, highly structured, transitional living. We just opened our first clinic up in Westchester, so we're doing some treatment now, and that's been beautiful. So literally anyone who needs help, hit me up. Like, I'm here. Like, our team, we're here. We respond. Like, I got people in my messages checking anyone that asks for help. Like, we try to get back to them. And then the nonprofit we started in 2019, just to cast a wider net, right? So that's a situation. That's a true give back. That's an altruistic thing. We basically raise money, and we pay for people to go get treatment. You know, like, if you had someone in your life that couldn't afford to go get behavioral health care services, we would write the check. I mean, and it's that simple. Yeah. You know, they apply for the grant and we do it. And last year we did about 60 scholarships. So that's 60 people that went to really good treatment centers in this country somewhere and had an opportunity, like I did 12 years ago, to reboot their lives. And so that's really filling my cup today. And, you know, on a bigger scale, I mean, we were talking a little bit before just about like what's next. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, like, it's more of like it's using my voice to the best of my ability to reach more people and really make change. And I don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but I've been getting out and speaking a little bit more.
I see you doing your thing, man. Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah. But it's just like you, man. Like, every day is an opportunity to try and touch one life.
That's it. Just one.
Just one.
That's fine. We'll take that, right?
Yeah.
And just be better every day. Going back to, I mean, 60 scholarships and all the people that you've helped already is amazing. Is there one story that's touched home or one person that you've helped that you feel like you're super proud of, that stands out, that made you kind of look in the mirror and say, man, this is why I'm doing this, you know?
There's so many. I mean, I think the hardest one, but the most beautiful one, is my older brother got sober a couple years ago. And it was humbling because I got that call and I didn't know what the hell to do. I've been helping a lot of people in my life, you know? And he's like 20 years my senior, and my niece called me and she's down there and he's sick, and he won't mind me sharing this because he's proud of his recovery. But like, I went right back into being like a family member, and it forced me to kind of take off my professional hat and put on like my brother hat. And I'm really damn proud of him because he's been able to build a life for himself, you know, and finally be the father that he's always wanted to be. And so that's the one like closest to my heart. Wow. You know, I've seen people like, you know, we had a girl. So like the ones that really touched me are the ones like I've had a couple actually over the last year DM me, like they'll DM me, like flyers, like, yo, I need help. And I take that shit really fucking seriously, to the point where my therapist is like, yo, you gotta like stop playing God. Like, you can't help everybody, you know, but like, I believe that that's my duty to the world. So like, to the best of my ability, I try to respond to everyone. And there's a couple that have kind of like DM'd, gotten in touch with us, connected to the foundation, gone to treatment, and now they're celebrating like a year. So we had one, so the treatment center I went to out in Pennsylvania called Karen, we had this girl, she wrote me, she was fucked up, addicted to fentanyl. We got her into treatment. We have a fund with them that's for the LGBTQIA plus community. So she qualified for that. And I just got a picture this week of her holding like her year chip, her celebration chip. And so just like the stories like that, when you really see someone go from their darkest days, their worst moments, to this beautiful life of like happiness and joy. You know, like one of the dudes that works for me right now in admissions, this kid Blake, like I remember meeting him when he was in treatment. He was wearing like this really bad Grateful Dead shirt, and he's like, I don't want to be sober. He ended up coming to release, going through our program. Now he works for us. He's like 5 years sober. He's super handsome, good looking, just like crushing it. I'm like, this is like the juice, man. This is the juice. So
I love that.
There's not just one story, I guess, is the moral of it, you know?
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing about your brother. And I mean, you've touched so many lives. And actually, now thinking back, it's crazy. Like every season kind of serves its purpose, right? I mean, we talk about The Bachelor. I mean, that could have just been besides that sense of community, like an opportunity for you to just build a platform to touch even more lives, right? You've done incredible things, and
that's been like a little bit of an identity crisis for me. Like, and this is real talk, and I don't share or talk about this a lot, but like, I feel comfortable with you, I guess, is like, you know, I spent a long time building this career and like building a name for myself in the behavioral healthcare space, like working my ass off. And then I go on to this show, which in itself does carry a little bit of a stigma, right?
Sure,
Like you know, you were on The Bachelor, you're reality TV, and like, so for me, like I've had to even have this another round of being really comfortable with that and knowing that like just because I did this television show doesn't discredit all of this beautiful work that I've did before or doing now and going to continue to do. But I've had moments of like, am I a fraud, yo? Is it like, am I doing the wrong, you know? Cause like that's like the mental roller coaster.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree. Like, yeah, I mean like right place, right time, whatever it was, platform, no platform. But I think I just need to be able to lean into the fact that like the more that I share my story, the more that I talk to guys like you, the more that this message gets out there. Like if this conversation today helps one person, we did our job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope it does. And obviously we'll share all the information about, you know, your businesses and, you know, I'm proud of you, man. I really am. And I think we were long overdue for a sit down. You know, we've talked a bit off camera, but this was awesome, man. This was like really refreshing and inspiring. And I even feel like, you know, I'm doing my job here too, right? Because it's like we have fun conversations with people all the time, but it's like this is just really powerful and very meaningful. And you know, your story is one of my favorites, man, for sure.
Thank you.
And you know, I'm always rooting for you and here for you and supporting you. But again, thank you for your time and hanging out today. And
your level up's coming. It's coming right now. This is the start.
Oh yeah, well this is a big year for us all, man.
Good.
I keep saying that. And it's my Jesus year. We talked about that, you know. So you know, we got a lot to look forward to. But all jokes to the side, man. And I said it earlier, but really proud of you.
Thank you.
And you know, continue to do great things. And yeah, man, I'm always rooting you on.
Thank you, bro. Good shit. Thank you.
And we like to always wrap up with just a little saying. Thanks for tuning in, and here's to life.
More life.
More everything.